The Zathar Dominion ruled the stars for thousands of years. Their fleets moved like dark storms through space, burning everything that stood against them. Worlds fell, cities turned to ash, and every race that fought them was crushed. The Zathar believed themselves unbeatable. Their history books had only one lesson: the weak must kneel, the strong must rule. Inside the throne hall of the Zathar Prime world, General Vorkal stood before his emperor. The hall was made of black crystal, lit by the glow of lava rivers running beneath the floor. Around him, banners of conquered species hung like trophies. Vorkal's armor reflected the flames, his eyes glowing gold with pride. "The Arcanis Confederation has fallen, my emperor," Vorkal declared. "Their homeworld now burns. Their leaders beg for mercy." The emperor's voice echoed like thunder. "Mercy is for the defeated who know their place." "The Dominion grows, Vorkal. Soon there will be nothing left to conquer." Vorkal bowed. "It shall be so. None can resist us." No one in the hall disagreed. For generations, the Zathar had faced no true challenge. The galaxy had accepted their rule as a fact of life. But far away, in a small spiral arm of the Milky Way, a blue planet turned quietly around its star. It was not mighty. It was not ancient. But it held something the Zathar could not understand: the human spirit. When the Zathar scout ships found Earth, they laughed. The reports described a species still divided into nations, still arguing over land and politics, still using primitive weapons compared to plasma technology. To the Zathar, humans were barely worth notice. One of the Zathar officers, a young commander named Krest, showed the report to General Vorkal. "General, this planet called Earth sends strange signals," Krest said. "They sing through the stars. Not messages of surrender or worship, but sounds of joy, sorrow, and defiance." Vorkal frowned. "Defiance? They do not even know we exist. Such arrogance from primitives." He turned away from the report and spoke coldly. "Send the invasion fleet. Burn their world. Add their species to our list of conquered ones." Krest nodded, though he felt uneasy. He had studied those human signals: songs, laughter, cries of hope. Something in them felt different, almost alive. But he was a soldier. Orders were orders. In the skies above Earth, telescopes picked up strange readings. Objects were moving fast, far too large to be natural. When the truth became clear, the world reacted in shock. News stations went silent for a moment, then erupted with fear. "Unidentified ships entering orbit," shouted one broadcaster. "They're not human, they're aliens." Within hours, cities prepared for disaster. Governments called emergency meetings. Scientists confirmed it. Earth was no longer alone. The first Zathar fleet arrived. Massive dark ships shaped like blades covering the sun. They sent a single transmission to all human networks. The message came in a cold, mechanical voice. "You are now subjects of the Zathar Dominion. Surrender your leaders, your armies, and your world. Resistance will be met with destruction." The message was repeated across every channel. Then silence followed. For the first time in history, all of humanity had one enemy. General Marcus Hale, commander of Earth's global defense forces, stood in the war room of the United Nations base. The world's leaders surrounded him, faces pale and frightened. "They want surrender," said one leader. "We can't fight ships that move faster than light." Marcus looked at the holographic map, the orbit filled with red dots marking Zathar ships. He knew the odds. Humanity's best weapons were like toys compared to that kind of power, but something burned in his chest. Something no calculation could measure. "They think we'll kneel," Marcus said quietly. "They've never met humans." He turned to the council. "We may lose cities. We may lose lives. But if we surrender now, we lose everything. Every flag, every dream, every song. We fight not because we can win, but because we must." For a moment, no one spoke. Then, one by one, the leaders nodded. The Earth Defense Alliance was born that day, not of power, but of unity. The Zathar attack began the next morning. Over major cities, plasma fire rained from orbit. Skyscrapers melted, oceans boiled, and clouds turned red with fire. The invaders expected panic. They expected humanity to collapse in fear. Instead, they met fury. In New York, jets launched into the sky, dodging beams of plasma to strike enemy dropships. In Moscow, engineers reprogrammed satellites into makeshift railguns. In Karachi, soldiers guided civilians underground while drones attacked enemy landing crafts. In every corner of the Earth, people stood up. Farmers, pilots, medics, scientists. Everyone doing what they could. A Zathar officer watched the chaos from orbit and frowned. "They should have broken by now," he said to his captain. The captain replied coldly, "Then we break them harder." Hours turned into days. The Zathar destroyed more cities, but humans kept fighting. They adapted, improvised, and turned their planet into a trap. They used terrain, weather, and sheer creativity. When one base fell, another rose. When a commander died, another took command. General Hale directed his troops from an underground command post beneath the ruins of Geneva. Every few minutes, a new report arrived. "Beijing Command reports they took down a carrier with old missiles, sir." South America Command used EMP waves to disable landing craft. Europe Sector requests reinforcements. Hale gave quick, calm orders. He barely slept, barely ate. Every time someone said they were losing, he answered with the same words. "Then we make them pay for every inch." High above, on the Zathar flagship Dominion's Wrath, General Vorkal stared at the tactical screen in disbelief. His fleets were winning, but slowly, too slowly. The humans were not supposed to last this long. "What is the delay?" he roared. "They are primitives." "Finish them." A nervous aide bowed. "General, they are unpredictable. They fight like no other race. They use emotion as if it were a weapon." Vorkal sneered. "Emotion? Foolish weakness." But deep inside, even he began to feel uneasy. The more he watched, the clearer it became. Humans did not fight for survival alone. They fought for each other. In a ruined city somewhere in Asia, a group of soldiers prepared for one last stand. Among them was Lieutenant Arya Chen, a young pilot whose squadron had been wiped out. She looked at the sky, filled with enemy ships. "Are we really going to win this?" she asked softly. Her commander, bleeding but still smiling, answered, "Doesn't matter. We fight so someone else can." Arya took a deep breath, climbed into her damaged jet, and launched. She flew straight toward a Zathar cruiser, missiles armed. The cruiser's shields flared as she dove in. With her final words, she radioed back, "Tell them, humanity doesn't surrender." Her jet exploded against the cruiser's core, and the enemy ship went down in flames. The explosion lit up the night sky, seen by soldiers across continents. Cheers rose from bunkers and trenches. For the first time since the invasion began, humanity destroyed a Zathar warship. In the Zathar throne hall, the Emperor watched the reports with cold fury. "These humans defy us," he said. "Crush them, Vorkal." "I want their world in ashes." Vorkal bowed deeply. "It will be done." But as he turned away, he could not forget the transmission he had just seen. A human pilot shouting, "Humanity doesn't surrender," before destroying one of his cruisers. That voice, filled with courage, echoed in his mind like thunder. He whispered to himself, "Strange creatures, perhaps not so weak after all." Down on Earth, General Hale received the report of the destroyed Zathar cruiser. The war room filled with exhausted cheers. "We did it," one soldier said. "We actually brought one down." Hale only smiled faintly. He knew it was just the beginning. The enemy was vast, but something had changed. The galaxy's most powerful empire had bled. He looked up at the map of the stars and said quietly, "They wanted to conquer us. Now they've awakened us." Outside, the sky burned with fire and falling wreckage, but for the first time humanity had hope, because humanity had taken the field. The smoke of war still hung over Earth. Cities burned, oceans boiled with debris, and the night skies glowed red with the wrecks of fallen ships. The Zathar Dominion had taken much, but they had not taken humanity's will to fight. From the ashes of governments and armies rose something new, the Earth Defense Alliance, or EDA. It was not built for pride or power, but for survival. Every nation, every soldier, and every engineer worked together for one single goal: resistance. Inside a mountain bunker in Switzerland, General Marcus Hale stood before a giant holographic table. Around it sat commanders from all across the planet, men and women who had once been enemies but were now united. "Reports from Asia sector?" Hale asked. "Zathar ground troops are advancing through Siberia," replied a colonel. "We're holding them with drones and missile batteries, but supplies are running low." Hale nodded, calm but firm. "Divert what we can from the European front. Keep them alive. He looked around at the room, tired faces, dirty uniforms, eyes burning with determination. "We've been hit hard," he said. "But we've shown them something they didn't expect. We bleed, but we don't break. It's time we remind them again." A murmur filled the room, a mix of fear and hope. Hale tapped the map and a red mark appeared above the Pacific Ocean. "This is their main command ship, the Zathar flagship Dominion's Wrath. If we can strike it, even once the galaxy will see that humanity can hit back." In orbit, the Zathar fleets regrouped. Their command ship hung like a dark fortress above the clouds. Inside, General Vorkal paced before his officers, his golden armor dimmed by frustration. "These humans are wasting our time," he growled. "Why do they not kneel?" His aide, Commander Crest, stepped forward carefully. "General, humans are different. They seem to fight harder when cornered. They have no central leader now. Each region fights on its own, yet somehow they cooperate." Vorkal turned sharply. "Impossible. Order cannot exist without domination." Crest lowered his eyes. "And yet they continue." Vorkal's voice deepened. "Then we will break their spirit once and for all. Prepare the planetary bombardment." Crest hesitated. "General, if we destroy everything, there will be nothing left to rule." Vorkal glared. "Then there will be nothing left to resist." Back on Earth, the EDA's engineers worked day and night. Inside old hangars and underground factories, teams of scientists dismantled captured Zathar drones, studying every wire, every glowing crystal inside. One of them, Dr. Aisha Rahman, wiped sweat from her forehead as sparks flew from the table. "We can't copy their plasma tech," she said, "but we can use it." Her assistant frowned. "How?" "By mixing it with what we already know," Aisha said, smiling faintly. "Humans build fast, even from scraps." She lifted a glowing device from a stolen Zathar energy core now connected to a human missile. "If this works, we'll have a weapon that can pierce their shields." That idea spread quickly. Across the world, human factories began producing hybrid technology, a mix of alien power and human creativity. Soon, the EDA had a small fleet of rebuilt aircraft, drones, and even space rockets armed with experimental plasma-tipped missiles. Meanwhile, Hale visited a hospital hidden in the mountains. Rows of wounded soldiers lined the halls. One of them, a young pilot named Lieutenant Arya Chen, lay in bed, her face pale but her eyes bright. She had survived the first great battle, the one where her squadron destroyed a Zathar cruiser at the cost of her comrades. When Hale entered, she tried to stand, but he raised a hand. "At ease, Lieutenant." "I heard we're hitting back soon," she said, voice weak but hopeful. He nodded. "You helped make that possible. Your squadron showed the world what courage means." Arya smiled faintly. "We're not done yet, sir." "No," Hale said softly. "We're just beginning." Days later, under a stormy sky, the EDA fleet prepared for their first major offensive, Operation Dawnstrike. It was simple and desperate. A group of human aircraft would break through the Zathar's orbital defenses, reach the flagship, and fire their new plasma weapons. The chance of success was low, the chance of survival even lower. But if it worked, the enemy would finally see that Earth was not helpless. In the hangar, pilots strapped in. Mechanics hugged them, some whispering prayers. Hale watched from the control tower, expression unreadable. "Remember," his voice echoed through the intercom. "They think we are small. Let's show them the size of the human heart." The attack began at dawn. Dozens of fighter jets and rockets rose into the clouds. Above them, the Zathar fleet loomed like thunderclouds of metal. Plasma fire rained down, cutting through the sky. But the humans flew faster than expected, using unpredictable paths, diving through storms, hiding in radar shadows. "Squadron Alpha, targets in sight," came the radio voice. "Shields at maximum." A Zathar officer shouted aboard the Dominion's Wrath. "These creatures dare attack us in the sky?" Inside one of the human jets, pilot Captain Raj Patel grinned through the shaking turbulence. "You call that a shield? Let's test it." He fired the first hybrid missile. The weapon streaked upward, glowing blue, and hit the Zathar cruiser squarely in the hull. For a second, nothing happened. Then the ship's shields flickered and exploded in sparks. Cheers erupted across human channels. "They're vulnerable," Raj shouted. "Hit them again." Wave after wave of human missiles flew, each carrying the unstable mix of alien and human tech. The sky lit up with explosions. The Zathar ships, once calm and unstoppable, began to retreat from low orbit. On the Dominion's wrath, alarms blared. Commander Crest rushed to the control deck. "General, their weapons. They're adapting our own energy against us." Vorkal's eyes widened. "Impossible." Crest stared at the battle feed. "Not impossible, General. Human." For the first time, a Zathar flagship was forced to pull back. Half its lower hull burned, and several escort ships fell into the atmosphere, crashing into the sea. Across Earth, people saw the fiery trails and realized something incredible. Humanity had struck back. In the EDA command room, shouts and cheers filled the air. "We did it," someone cried. "They're retreating." Hale stood silently, staring at the feed of falling enemy ships. He knew it was not a full victory, but it was enough. It was proof that humanity could wound the giant that had ruled the stars for centuries. "Send this footage to every channel," he ordered. "Let the galaxy see." The message traveled faster than light. Alien races across the galaxy received it. The image of burning Zathar ships falling over a blue planet. In places where the Dominion's flag flew, people whispered. In hidden camps and slave colonies, hope began to stir. "If those humans can fight the Zathar," said one alien miner staring at the broadcast, "maybe we can too." Word spread from world to world. The humans fight back. On the Zathar homeworld, the Emperor watched the battle footage in silence. His golden eyes narrowed as he saw human ships moving through fire and chaos. "These creatures," he murmured. "They should have been destroyed." Vorkal knelt before him, bruised but unbroken. "I underestimated them, my Emperor. But I will crush them. I swear it." The Emperor's voice turned cold. "Do not fail again." "Their defiance spreads like a disease." Vorkal rose. "Then I shall burn the disease from the stars." Back on Earth, celebration mixed with sorrow. Many pilots never returned from Operation Dawnstrike. Among them was Captain Raj Patel, his last words still echoing over the comms. "Hit them again." Hale visited the hangar where the surviving pilots gathered. Smoke still hung in the air and the ground shook from distant thunder. Arya Chen, her arm still bandaged, stood among them, watching the sunrise. "They hit us hard," she said quietly. Hale nodded. "Yes, but now they know we can hit back." He turned to the assembled soldiers. "Today we did more than win a battle. We showed the universe what it means to be human, to fight even when the stars themselves fall." That night in the dark void above Earth, the wreck of a Zathar ship drifted silently. Inside the ruins, a broken console flickered one last transmission. It carried a single line of human code, a message written by one of Earth's engineers before the ship exploded. It said, "We are humanity. We don't stop." Far away in the shadowed corners of the galaxy, slaves whispered the same words to each other. On planets ruled by fear, workers raised their eyes to the stars. Something powerful had begun, a spark that no empire could extinguish. The Zathar Dominion still held countless worlds. Their fleet still filled the void. But now the galaxy had seen what humans could do, and in that vast silence of space the words spread from one world to another like fire. The enemy's triumph is ending. Humanity has taken the field. The fire from Operation Dawnstrike had faded, but its light traveled far. Across the galaxy, countless worlds saw the same recording. Human ships rising through fire and smoke, striking the mighty Zathar flagship and forcing it to retreat. For the first time in living memory, the unstoppable Dominion had been pushed back. On distant planets where the Zathar flag had flown for generations, the news spread like a whisper of hope. In the mines of CosmicAdventures, where enslaved workers toiled under harsh whips of plasma, a young alien worker stared at the broadcast shown by a smuggled projector. His forehands trembled as he whispered, "The humans, they fought them?" An older miner nodded, eyes filled with disbelief. "And they made them bleed. Maybe the stars are changing." That night, those same miners refused to bow. It was small, silent rebellion, but it was a start. The galaxy was beginning to watch. On Earth, the mood had shifted too. The city still burned and the sky was still scarred, but now the people of Earth walked with their heads held higher. Every radio station played the same words, "We are still standing." General Marcus Hale stood at the edge of a shattered mountain base, looking toward the stars. His uniform was torn and his face lined with exhaustion, but his eyes were sharp. Dr. Aisha Rahman joined him, holding a datapad filled with reports. Our losses were heavy, she said softly. But Operation Dawnstrike worked. The plasma fusion project, it's real. We can rebuild faster now. Hale nodded slowly. Good, because the war isn't over. The Zathar will come back stronger, she sighed, and we'll meet them again. He turned toward her. Dr. Rahman, humanity has done the impossible once. Now we'll do it again, and this time, we won't fight alone. In the dark of space, the Zathar fleet limped back toward their central outpost near the Valorian cluster, an area filled with peaceful alien scientists who had long been under Dominion rule. Inside the warship Dominion's Wrath, General Vorkal stood at the viewing window. The stars reflected off his damaged armor. General, said his aide Commander Crest, repairs will take weeks. Morale among the fleet is low. The soldiers whisper about the humans and they call them the Fireborn, Vorkal growled. Let them whisper. Soon they will see Earth's ashes. But his golden eyes looked distant. Deep inside, a small voice whispered something he could not silence. How did they do it? They were not stronger, not faster, not smarter. Yet they had something else, something the Zathar did not understand. The will to stand when all logic said fall. The Valorians were a gentle species. Tall, silver-skinned, with bright eyes that reflected light like water. For centuries they had lived under Zathar control, forced to use their intelligence for warships and machines. But after the human broadcast spread through the galaxy, the Valorians secretly began to send encrypted messages into the void. One message reached Earth's hidden relay satellite. To the humans of Sol, we are the Valorians. We have seen your courage. We offer knowledge, if you offer hope. When the EDA decoded it, the entire command room went silent. Hale read the message twice, then smiled slightly. Looks like we're not alone after all. He turned to his communications officer. Open a secure channel. Let's talk to them. Days later, the Valorian envoy, Alaris, appeared on the holographic screen. She had calm blue eyes and a voice that sounded like music. Behind her stood rows of Valorian scientists, each wearing a symbol hidden from the Dominion for decades, a symbol of freedom. We believed resistance was impossible, Alaris said. But when we saw your world rise against the Dominion, we remembered what it means to hope. We can help you understand their technology, but you must promise this, that when the time comes you will help others too. Hale replied, You have our word. Humanity fights for more than itself now. Alaris smiled faintly. Then the galaxy has already begun to change. With Valorian guidance, the humans learned fast. Their scientists began to reverse engineer Zathar communication grids, ship engines, and energy cores. Factories on Earth and the Moon turned into production centers for hybrid ships. Human-built hulls powered by alien plasma drives. Dr. Aisha Rahman looked at the first completed prototype, shining silver under the floodlights. We'll call it the Liberty class, she said, because it flies for freedom. When the first Liberty ship launched from Earth's orbit, the entire planet watched. It was smaller than a Zathar cruiser, but faster and built with heart. Hale looked up as the engines flared blue, cutting through the darkness. We're going to take the fight beyond our world, he said. Meanwhile, on distant colonies, rebellion spread. The Turok, a proud warrior species long enslaved by the Dominion, rose up. Their leader, Rask Thane, a towering alien with silver armor, shouted before his people, The humans have shown the way. The Dominion bleeds. For every lash they gave us, we will give them 10 in return. The Turok fleets, made of stolen Dominion ships, turned their weapons against their masters. Battles erupted across the stars. Small revolts became full uprisings. The Zathar Dominion began to shake. Vorkal watched the reports with fury. Rebellions in 10 systems. How can this be? Commander Crest spoke quietly. It is because of the humans. Their victory gave others courage. They no longer fear us. Vorkal slammed his fist against the console. Then we will make them fear again. But even as the Dominion prepared to retaliate, humanity and their new allies gathered strength. Earth's orbital shipyards glowed with activity. The Moon became a fortress. On Mars, engineers built outposts for long-range fleets. Dr. Rahman worked day and night beside Valorian scientists, translating alien energy equations into human logic. This, she said, pointing to the screen, will allow us to jump between systems faster than light. A young technician blinked. You mean star travel? Yes, she said, smiling. The humans are going to the stars. General Hale walked into the lab, his boots echoing on the floor. Good work, Doctor. Prepare the Liberty Fleet. The galaxy's watching us and we're not letting them down. Soon the first Liberation Armada assembled above Earth, 30 hybrid ships, each with human crews and Valorian advisors. Their mission, to free the first alien world from Zathar control. The target was Chorus Prime, the same mining planet where the Whispers had begun. As the fleet prepared to depart, Hale stood before the crew. You are the first of a new kind of soldier, he said. Not fighting for one flag, but for every being that dreams of freedom. The galaxy watched us rise. Now let it watch us lead. The ships lifted off one by one, their engines lighting up the black sky. Below, billions of humans watched and cheered. Children pointed at the stars and whispered, "That's our fleet." The Liberation Armada jumped through the void. When they arrived above Chorus Prime, they found a world wrapped in chains, orbital defense platforms and slave colonies scattered across the surface. Hale's voice came through the comms. This is General Hale of Earth. To all Zathar forces, leave this planet or face destruction. The Zathar commander laughed. You dare threaten us, human? You are ants before the Dominion. Hale smiled faintly. Funny thing about ants, he said. They can bring down giants. Then the battle began. The Liberation Armada moved like lightning. Human ships darted between Zathar cruisers, striking weak points revealed by Valorian intelligence. Plasma beams crossed space, explosions filled the void, and for every human ship destroyed, another struck back twice as hard. On the surface, miners and slaves looked up, tears in their eyes. The dark sky was filled with fire, but this time the fire was for them. Look, a young alien cried. The humans came. Yes, an old miner whispered, and they brought freedom. After hours of fierce fighting, the Zathar fleet broke formation and retreated. Cheers echoed through every human channel. This is for Earth, shouted one pilot. No, Hale said quietly from his command ship. This is for everyone. Chorus Prime was free. The victory sent shockwaves through the galaxy. In 1 month, 20 worlds rose in rebellion. Zathar banners were torn down. Everywhere the message spread. Humanity fights not for conquest, but for liberation. The galaxy watched as a species once thought primitive became the symbol of courage and unity. Dr. Rahman said it best during an interview broadcast to dozens of worlds. They thought humanity was weak. They forgot that hope is the strongest weapon of all. But far away on the dark capital world of the Zathar, the Emperor watched everything unfold. His golden eyes burned with anger. The humans have united the galaxy, he said. Then we will show them the true power of fear. He turned to Vorkal. Gather every ship, every soldier. The Dominion will strike back, Vorkal bowed. Yes, my Emperor. This time we will end them. But as he walked away, even he knew the humans had changed everything. The galaxy was no longer silent. It was alive with hope. And that hope carried one name: humanity. The galaxy was no longer quiet. Reports of rebellion, resistance, and human-led victories spread across star systems. Every corner of the Dominion felt the tremor of change. The Zathar had underestimated a small blue planet called Earth, and now their empire was cracking. On the Zathar homeworld, the Emperor's throne room was filled with tension. The black crystal walls reflected the glow of orbital battles outside. Vorkal knelt before the Emperor, his golden eyes burning with frustration. Humanity has united the galaxy, Vorkal said. The Turok, the Valorians, even the smaller systems, all rise together. Their courage inspires others. The Emperor's voice rumbled like a distant storm. Then it is time. Gather every fleet, every soldier, every weapon. We will strike with precision. We will make them kneel. We will end this defiance, Vorkal bowed. It will be done. Meanwhile, above Earth, the Earth Defense Alliance monitored the Dominion's movements. Satellites detected thousands of Zathar ships assembling in the void near Mars. The numbers were overwhelming, far beyond anything humanity had faced. General Marcus. Hale studied the holographic display in the command room. Each red dot represented a ship, a weapon, a threat. His face was calm, but his mind raced. This is the largest fleet we've ever seen, said Commander Arya Chen, standing beside him. If they attack directly, we won't last an hour. Hale nodded. Then we won't meet them directly. We fight smarter. We fight for the galaxy, not just for ourselves. Hale gathered his top commanders. Around the table, representatives of Valorians, Turok warriors, and human strategists listened carefully. Our plan is simple, Hale began. The Zathar expect us to defend Earth. Instead, we will hit their fleet in 3 directions: Earth's orbit, Mars' approach, and the Valorian cluster. We will split their attention, and we will use the stars themselves to our advantage. Arya raised an eyebrow. You mean asteroid fields, gravity wells, and debris? Yes, Hale said. We fight with everything we have and then more. Remember, the human strength is not in weapons alone. It is in courage, creativity, and teamwork. The room fell silent for a moment. Then the commanders nodded. The plan was risky, but it was their best chance. Days later, the first stage of the battle began. Human pilots darted through asteroid fields, using debris to hide their ships from Zathar sensors. The Liberty-class ships led the charge, striking enemy escort vessels with precise plasma beams. On the surface of Mars, engineers had turned old bases into fortified launch stations. Rockets, drones, and hybrid plasma cannons opened fire as Zathar cruisers passed overhead. Even though the humans were outnumbered, their strategy created confusion in the Dominion ranks. On the command ship of the Zathar fleet, alarms blared. Their ships are everywhere, shouted a young officer. They use the asteroids. The debris, even gravity to fight. Vorkal's face hardened. They are clever, but cleverness is not enough. Prepare the plasma storm. End this defiance. In the midst of the battle, General Hale led a daring strike against the Zathar flagship, the Dominion's Wrath. Alongside a squadron of human and Valorian pilots, he dodged plasma fire and laser beams, moving closer to the core of the enemy fleet. Stick to the plan, he shouted over the comms. Strike the engines, disable the shields, then retreat. The pilots worked as one, humans and aliens side by side, using every maneuver they had. For every ship destroyed, another followed. For every pilot lost, 10 rose to take their place. Above Chorus Prime, the Turok warriors joined the fray. Massive warships they had captured from the Dominion cut through enemy lines, freeing worlds and civilians trapped under Zathar control. The combination of human cunning and alien strength proved unstoppable. On the Dominion's Wrath, Vorkal paced. They are too coordinated. How can this be? Commander Kress spoke carefully. General, it is not just tactics. It is their will. They fight for something greater than fear. They fight for each other, for hope. Vorkal slammed a fist against the console. Then we will remove that hope. He activated the Plasma Annihilator, a weapon capable of destroying entire planets. His voice echoed through the ship. If they will not kneel, let them burn. But humanity was ready. Using Valorian intelligence and human adaptability, the EDA had already predicted this move. Underground bases and orbital platforms powered shields around key cities. The Plasma Annihilator struck, but its beam split across hundreds of smaller energy dispersers, weakening its impact. Hale watched the results on the holographic table. They are strong, he said, but they are not invincible. Arya Chen gritted her teeth. They will not stop. No, Hale said. Not when the galaxy is awake. The battle reached its peak when Hale led a small team of Liberty-class ships directly into the Dominion's Wrath. The Zathar flagship's shields shimmered, and plasma fire tore past the squadron. Now, Hale shouted. The Liberty ships fired their hybrid plasma missiles at the core of the flagship. Sparks flew, systems failed, and for the first time, a massive breach opened in the enemy vessel. Inside the ship, Vorkal realized his fleet was losing. Pilots and officers were screaming. Systems were shutting down. Panic spread like wildfire. Hale's voice echoed in the comms. This is the future of the galaxy. Humanity does not kneel. The flagship's engines failed, and it began to drift toward a gravity well nearby. Other Zathar ships tried to save it, but human fighters and Valorian drones forced them back. The Dominion's fleet, once feared across the stars, now faltered, below on liberated planets. The citizens watched as the Zathar ships retreated. They cheered. Children waved flags. Adults cried. The galaxy had begun to believe that freedom was possible. On Chorus Prime, miners who had whispered hope now shouted it aloud. Turok warriors lifted their weapons to the sky. Valorians activated stargates for the first time in centuries. Every species had seen that the mighty Zathar could bleed. Back on Earth, Hale addressed the Liberation Armada. Today we did more than fight. We reminded the galaxy that courage can topple giants, but our work is not finished. The Dominion will return and we must be ready. Arya Chen stepped forward. We've lost many, she said, but we've gained hope. Hale placed a hand on her shoulder. Yes, and hope is stronger than any fleet in the galaxy. On the Dominion's wrath, Vorkal stared at the stars, his pride shattered. They are not afraid, he muttered. They fight with courage, not chains. How can such small creatures hold so much strength? Commander Crest bowed. It is because they fight for more than themselves, General. They fight for everyone. Vorkal turned, his face hardening. Then we will destroy everything they love. The galaxy will fear the Zathar again. But even he knew deep inside that the humans had changed the rules of war. The Dominion could destroy worlds, but it could not destroy the fire in the hearts of humanity, or the hope they had spread across the stars. In the aftermath, the galaxy began to rebuild. Ships were repaired, alliances formed, and planets freed from Zathar control began to communicate with Earth. Messages of gratitude and friendship poured in. Hale knew that the next battles would be even more dangerous. But he also knew that humanity had given the galaxy a gift no empire could ever take: belief and courage, unity and hope, and in the darkness of space, the stars seemed brighter than ever, shining for humans, for allies, and for the future that they would fight to protect. The galaxy held its breath. After months of battle, countless worlds were free, yet the heart of the Dominion still loomed. The Zathar's fleets were scattered, but still deadly. Their leaders, led by General Vorkal, had regrouped near the Orion Expanse, preparing for a final strike. This would be the ultimate battle, not just for Earth, not just for freedom, but for the fate of the galaxy itself. On Earth, General Marcus Hale gathered his commanders. The Liberation Armada had grown to over 100 ships, combining human technology with Valorian engines and Turok firepower. This is it, Hale said, pointing at the star map. The Dominion plans to strike multiple worlds at once. If we fail, billions will suffer, and our hope may die. Arya Chen, now a seasoned leader of the Liberty-class fleet, clenched her fists. We won't fail. The galaxy is watching us, Hale nodded. Exactly. Today we fight not only for Earth, but for every being who dreams of freedom. They thought they could crush us. They were wrong. In the shadows of the Orion Expanse, the Zathar flagship, a massive dark fortress, hovered like a storm. Vorkal stood on its command deck, staring at the approaching human fleet. His golden eyes burned with anger and disbelief. These humans, they survive every strike, Vorkal growled. Their courage is unnatural. It is dangerous. We must crush them utterly. Crest, his aide, spoke cautiously. General, they are not just humans anymore. They lead the galaxy. Systems rise in their name. Vorkal slammed his gauntleted hand on the console. Then the galaxy will burn with them. Prepare the Annihilator, no mercy, no retreat. The battle began at dawn. Across the expanse, plasma beams and laser fire filled the void. Human Liberty-class ships darted between massive Zathar warships, striking weak points with precision. Valorian drones weaved through enemy shields, and Turok fleets unleashed their captured warships with devastating power. From orbit above a liberated planet, civilians watched with tears in their eyes. Children pointed at the sky, shouting in wonder as the stars blazed with fire. Every strike of the human fleet was a signal. The galaxy could fight back. On the flagship of the Zathar, Vorkal roared orders. Destroy them! Show them the cost of defiance. Yet the humans adapted. Hale's strategy was brilliant in its simplicity. Split the enemy fleet, use terrain, gravity wells, and debris as weapons, and strike at their command ship. Every human pilot knew their mission. They fought with precision, courage, and unity. Arya Chen led her squadron through a narrow asteroid field, weaving between massive rocks as Zathar turrets fired relentlessly. One of her wingmates, a Valorian named Alaris, turned to her over comms. You humans, you do not fear death. Chen smiled faintly. Fear is useless. We fight for life, for everyone. Together, they reached the heart of the Zathar fleet, where the flagship's shields flickered under coordinated plasma strikes. Meanwhile, on the surface of the Orion Expanse, the Turok led planetary assaults. Former slaves stormed Zathar installations, freeing prisoners and turning their own weapons against the Dominion. Ships once used to oppress were now liberated instruments of victory. Hale's fleet moved with calculated brilliance. Human ingenuity turned the battle. Gravity wells pulled massive Zathar cruisers off course. Asteroid debris tore through armor. Hybrid missiles struck exactly where shields were weakest. The Dominion had no answer. For the first time, Vorkal realized he could lose. In the heat of battle, Hale made a daring move. He personally led a strike team of Liberty-class ships directly to the core of the Dominion's wrath. Plasma beams screamed past him, but he pressed forward, trusting his squadron and his plan. "Hold formation," he shouted. "Strike the engines simultaneously and we disable their mobility." Missiles hit the core. Systems sparked, shields flickered, and the great ship shuddered. For the first time in centuries, the Zathar flagship was vulnerable. Vorkal screamed into the comms, "No! Impossible! They should not survive this!" But survival was humanity's strength. Even as missiles tore through the ship, humans adapted, dodged, and struck again. Every loss was a lesson, every strike a victory. The final moment came when Hale himself targeted the flagship's command center. Flying through debris and fire, he saw Vorkal's officers scramble. The human pilots fired everything they had left. With one final strike, the Dominion's wrath shuddered and exploded in a blinding flash, sending fragments scattering across the expanse. Vorkal was gone. The Zathar fleet wavered. Chaos erupted. Ships fled, systems failed, and for the first time, the Dominion was defeated. On liberated planets, the people celebrated. Flags of freedom flew where the Dominion once ruled. Children laughed in streets that had been silent for decades. Everywhere life returned. The galaxy had learned something important. Courage, unity, and hope could topple even the mightiest empire. Back on Earth, Hale addressed the Liberation Armada via broadcast. "The Zathar are defeated. Their fleet is scattered and their tyranny is ended. Today we do not celebrate conquest and we celebrate freedom. The galaxy is ours to protect, not to rule." Arya Chen stood beside him. "We fought not for glory, not for power, but for everyone who deserves a future." Hale nodded. "And this is only the beginning. The stars are open to us now and we will guard them, together." In the ruins of the Zathar capital, the Emperor stared at the reports, defeated and silent. Vorkal's defiance had failed. His empire, once feared across countless worlds, had crumbled in the face of something he could not understand: human courage. Even his advisors admitted it. "They fight for more than themselves," Crest said quietly, "and that makes them unstoppable." The Emperor turned away. The Dominion would scatter, but the legend of humans would remain. A species that could unite a galaxy and inspire hope where there had only been fear. On Chorus Prime, former slaves rebuilt their homes. Turok warriors trained young recruits, teaching them that freedom is a right worth defending. Valorian scientists returned to peaceful research, knowing their knowledge could now serve life, not war. Across the galaxy, a message repeated itself: if humans can fight, then so can we. The spark of rebellion had become a wildfire. Worlds once silent under the Dominion's rule now shouted for hope, guided by the courage of a small blue planet. Hale returned to Earth, standing on a hill overlooking the city where the first battles had begun. Children played among the ruins, laughter ringing across the horizon. Survivors rebuilt not just structures but trust and friendship. Arya Chen joined him. "They'll never forget us," she said. Hale smiled. "No, and neither will we. Humanity didn't take the field for ourselves. We took it for everyone." Above, the stars shone bright. Ships of every race patrolled, protecting the galaxy and ensuring that tyranny could not rise again. Humanity's name became a symbol, not of conquest, but of courage, unity, and hope. Years later, historians would write of the Battle of the Orion Expanse. They would tell of the small blue planet that refused to kneel, of human ingenuity, bravery, and the fire in their hearts. Children on distant worlds learned the story. When the stars were dark, humans took the field. They showed the galaxy what it meant to fight for hope. Statues were built, memorials held, and songs sang, not of victory alone, but of courage that changed the course of history. And on Earth, Hale, Arya, and their comrades looked to the stars. Their battle was over, but their duty remained: to protect life, freedom, and the spark of hope they had ignited across the galaxy. The enemy's triumph had been shattered because humanity had taken the field.